These are special right triangles. There's two types. These are important because you're going to see them in Algebra 2 or higher level math. They're on the SAT and ACT. They're very important because they're basically shortcuts that are going to save you time. So it's to your advantage that you learn them and you learn them well. Okay, so the first type is going to be your isosceles right triangle. Isosceles means two sides and two angles are congruent. A right triangle means there's one right angle, which is 90 degrees, which is this one. And like I said, it's two sides and two angles that are congruent. So here we see two angles that are congruent, 45 and 45. So if I draw this like this is a right angle. This angle is congruent to this angle, which would be 45 degrees, 45 degrees. These are the two legs. This is x, side x, and this is the hypotenuse, the longest side, which is always opposite the 90-degree angle. This side is going to be x rad 2. So what this means is if you know the leg, then you can figure out the hypotenuse. If you know the hypotenuse, you can figure out the leg. Basically, if you're going to move from the leg to the hypotenuse, if you know the leg, to get to the hypotenuse, all you do is you multiply by rad 2. That's what this means. If this is x rad 2. You take whatever this number is and you multiply by rad 2, and that's what this is. And this dot means multiplication, okay? So if this side was 3, then the hypotenuse would be 3 rad 2. Why? Because we're taking the 3 and we're multiplying by rad 2, so we get what? 3 rad 2. So that's what this means and what this means, okay? So what if this is 7? Then this hypotenuse would be 7 rad 2, right? If this was 7, then this would also be 7 rad 2. It doesn't matter if I use this side or this side. These two are the same. These two have the same relationship. If I go this way, I would also multiply by rad 2. It's the same thing. However, what if we go the other way? What if we go from the hypotenuse? You know the hypotenuse, but you're trying to find the leg. So what if you are going this way? Well, what's the opposite of multiplying by rad 2? Of course, it's dividing by rad 2, right? So if I tell you that this hypotenuse is rad 10, how do I find the leg? I do rad 10 divided by rad 2. So rad 10 divided by rad 2, hopefully you know, is rad 5. So if I tell you that the hypotenuse is rad 10, then the leg, both legs actually, are going to be rad 5 because rad 10 divided by rad 2 is going to be rad 5. So if this is rad 10, this is rad 5, which means, of course, this is rad 5 as well, right? So what if I told you the hypotenuse is rad 14, right? What would you do? Divide by rad 2. So rad 14 divided by rad 2 is going to be rad 7, right? So let's do another example going from the leg to the hypotenuse to test if you remember what to do. So what if I told you that this is rad 3? The leg is rad 3. Then how do I get the hypotenuse? I do rad 3 times rad 2, which is going to be rad 6. So if this leg is rad 3, this hypotenuse is going to be rad 6. Okay? So what if I make the hypotenuse 7? So this hypotenuse is 7. How do I go from the hypotenuse to the leg? Do you remember? Am I going to multiply by rad 2 or divide by rad 2? I'm going to divide by rad 2. The hypotenuse is 7. I divide that by rad 2, so the leg is going to be 7 divided by rad 2, which you could rationalize, but that's basically your answer. If the hypotenuse is 7, the leg is going to be 7 divided by rad 2, or 7 over rad 2, again, which you could rationalize, right? So it doesn't matter what each side is. I could say this is pi. If each leg is pi here, then what's the hypotenuse? Well, pi times rad 2 is pi rad 2. So if this side is pi, then this hypotenuse is pi rad 2. It doesn't matter what I give you, right? If this is a, what's the hypotenuse? The hypotenuse is going to be a times rad 2, right? So what if I make the hypotenuse pi? What's the leg going to be? Well, to go from the hypotenuse to the leg, I divide by rad 2. So if the hypotenuse is pi, the leg is going to be pi divided by rad 2, right? So it's very simple as long as you can remember these two rules, right? But understand that these two rules occur around the 45-degree angles, right? It doesn't occur around the 90. You got to understand that these two legs connected to the 90-degree angle are going to be congruent, right? So there's no need to do anything here, right? Go around the 90. If this is 7, that's 7. If this is 3, that's 3, right? You got to understand you got to multiply by rad 2 or divide by rad 2 if you go from the leg to the hypotenuse, or hypotenuse to the leg.